Good evening and welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix daily price change predictions video. My name is FPL Nacho and this is a series where we discuss potential FPL price changes to help you build that essential team value. Now, of course, it is a Friday deadline and of course that was at 6:30, but that doesn't mean that the price changes stop anytime soon. And of course, you've probably made your transfers going into game week 11. Of course, many players on offer right now in the game. But in this video, we are going to be touching on a few players that are definitely rising in price tonight and a few that might be falling. Going to be covering all those bases and, of course, telling you whether you should or shouldn't bring them into your side. So, of course, guys, everything is taken from fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. So, if you want to win those mini leagues or improve your rank, be sure to head over to fantasyfootballfix.com or download the free app to get push notifications. All the links are in the bio, guys. So, as always, if you want to support the channel, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, as always, we're going to be looking at the Fantasy Football Fix price change predictor, and it's worth noting that there is so many potential price changes tonight that I've had to filter them down on the Fantasy Football Fix watch list for those players that I think are worth noting that might be falling or rising in price tonight. As always guys, if you want to check out the full list, I think it's about 4 pages worth right now, head over to fantasyfootballfix.com to check it out, link in the bio. But I've decided to note these ones. There's a good mix here of real popular players that are on the crest of rising or falling. So first up, Reece James, 130% progress bar. We are fully expecting him to rise in price tonight and currently going at 9.6% per hour. He is flying right now, and I think a lot of managers are getting a bit of FOMO and worried that he could do the same what he did against Newcastle against Burnley this weekend. So one of the most popular transfers so far this weekend. And Kane, Son rising in price last night. I mentioned that Kane wasn't going to be too far behind. And as we can see here, rising at 3.2% per hour and at 120% progress bar. We are fully expecting him to rise in price to 12.2 million. So if you haven't got your Spurs plan in place or you're planning on bringing in Kane, just might want to think about it sooner rather than later with this price rising. Now, Trent rising in price. That one's a bit surprising, I would say. I don't think there's necessarily been anything in the news to suggest that Trent deserves a price rise, but clearly been a brilliant asset so far this season. And with Liverpool's mixed fixtures coming forward, I think that he's still a brilliant asset to hold and to bring in. And clearly managers are thinking the same. Now, Foden had a rise to 8.2 million not too long ago, looking like it might go to 8.3 million tonight. So if you are an owner right now, getting a nice bit of price rise, possibly making a 0.1 million profit, and looking like he's going to rise to 8.3 with 110% progress bar. That was looking very likely tonight. And the other one is going to be Aubameyang of Arsenal. Now, a lot of managers are talking about the Ronaldos, the Kanes, the Lukakus. Aubameyang quietly going under the radar, and it's 6% ownership. If managers are looking for a bit of a differential, he could be a nice pick at 10 million, potentially rising to 10.1 million tonight. Of course, with the differentials, with Harry Kane at 7% and those fixtures coming up, I think you probably would favour Kane. But with the 2 million saving and a home fixture against Watford, Aubameyang could be a very shrewd pick. Now, we touched on Gallagher in previous videos. Trossard is really flying under the radar right now. Currently rising at 2.6% per hour. That one might be very close. I'll be surprised if that one does make it. But at the rate it's going right now, he will be rising in price if it continues. And really, guys, this is like a horse coming at the back on the final stretch. Chilwell rising at 5.4% per hour. It's still at only 70% progress bar, but if he continues at this rate, he will be rising in price. So keep an eye on that one, guys. Could be going to 6.1 million tonight. And looking at the price fallers, Mason Mount, after the news that he is available for the squad, but is just coming back after some illness. That probably has meant managers have had enough of him. And the big thing with the Jota injury news, with the Firmino injury news and Jota now likely to be a starter for Liverpool, lots of managers looking at doing a Mount to Jota transfer, very popular in the market right now. And Gray at Everton off the back of those Everton fixtures, Gray not looking like the most popular pick, and Gallagher rising in price, probably one of those easy switches for managers. Another notable ones, and again guys, players that are flying right now, Antonio, 8.2 million, might be falling to 8.1 million if his progress rate continues as it is. 5.6% per hour. This one's going to be super close as well, guys. I know a lot of managers are looking to move away from Antonio. This could be close, so be sure to monitor that one, guys. And Azpilicueta with the fullbacks in James and Chilwell doing so well, and Azpilicueta being slightly more expensive, managers are looking at an easy sideways move to those fullbacks. So guys, that is a whip up of the transfer activity going into tonight. Let's have a look at a bit more of a deep dive in some of these players. Right guys, I've just brought up the transfer combination over on fantasyfootballfix.com for us to have a little look at what managers are currently doing with West Ham's Antonio, as he is clearly a very, very popular transfer out of teams, which is really hard to believe with the season that Antonio's had so far. But clearly managers have had enough and have seen that fixtures coming up and thought to themselves, it's time to move out. So really, the predominant transfer, the one that's really catching everybody's attention right now, is Antonio to Ivan Toney at 61% of those transfer combinations. Now, clearly, with Brentford's coming 4 fixtures, Ivan Toney is predicted to do well over that period. So a lot of managers are looking to save a bit of money and invest that into the rest of their squad. And I think with Spurs assets becoming viable options now, and a lot of managers looking to either upgrade Jamie Vardy into Harry Kane or the likes of Phil Foden's into Sons, I think that additional 2 million is going to be very much vital in affording those moves going forward. So that is definitely, I think, a big reason into why a lot of managers are making that Antonio to Toney move. Now, another popular transfer is Antonio to Hwang. Only 9.3% of the transfer combinations, but Hwang looking promising in this Wolves team and getting game time, which is the important thing. A lot of managers are worried about that game time for Hwang. But that sideways move there, again, opens up plenty of cash available for managers to invest elsewhere in their team. Hwang, probably one I wouldn't look to invest in right now. I think Jimenez is the better pick, and you can see that as the 4th most popular transfer combination, but not a bad move if you're looking for minutes and in a decent side like Wolves. And the 3rd most popular transfer is Antonio to Kane at 6.7%. Of course, this is for those managers that have the cash available to make that move, and I think that is a solid move going forward over the next 5 fixtures if you are looking to really capitalise on those Spurs fixtures. But again, it is worth emphasising, guys, that Antonio is still a brilliant pick in FPL, and he is still predicted to score very well over the coming game weeks because of that guaranteed game time, potential set pieces, and the run that West Ham are in. He really does look like he's still a solid option, so I wouldn't be rushing away from Antonio unless you have a real clear plan on what you're doing with that available budget once you sell him. Right guys, on the subject of forwards, I've decided to bring up the predicted points analyzer on fantasyfootballfix.com to compare the forwards over the next 5 game weeks to see how they match up against one another. And of course, as I mentioned, with the likes of Harry Kane potentially rising in price and Antonio falling in price and even Aubameyang rising, I think it's a good opportunity to see how they match up against one another over this period. And of course, this is kind of going down from the predicted highest scorer forward and downwards, so on and so on. So first up, with Harry Kane predicted to score 28.1 points over the next 5, which is the highest of any forward. And it shouldn't be no surprise, really. Obviously, we are targeting these Spurs assets because of the fixtures coming up. And with the Everton away fixture not looking as tricky on paper now as it was previous weeks because of that recent form. And then, of course, that brilliant home fixture against Leeds. So while Kane himself is looking a bit out of sorts, we still have him predicted to be the highest scorer forward over the next 5 game weeks. It's starting to justify why managers are looking to go towards Harry Kane over the coming game weeks. The great thing about Harry Kane is it keeps that premium spot in your teams, which means it's an easy sideways move to the likes of Lukaku and Ronaldo's in the coming game weeks after this brilliant opening 5 fixtures. And of course, you're bringing in a guy on set pieces in a new formation under Conte. Who knows what he can bring out of him. But if there's going to be a manager who gets the best out of Harry Kane, I think Conte could be the man. And now, a lot of managers have been looking to move away from Man United assets, but Ronaldo still ticking along nicely, predicted to score 27.8 points over the next 5 league matches. And of course, a few tricky fixtures here and there, particularly the Manchester derby coming up. But as we can see on the predicted points, some brilliant fixtures, especially in 12 and 15, where we have him predicted to be the highest scorer that game week. And at 12.4 million, although he is top of the pile in terms of price, he provides you the opportunity to go down into any asset over the longer term, which means it just gives you a bit more flexibility in your side. So moving away from Ronaldo, while on paper the fixtures look tricky, we still have him predicted to do very well over the next 5. And Jamie Vardy is another one which I think a lot of managers are using to be a cash cow to invest into Harry Kane. And I think when we look at Jamie Vardy over the past few game weeks with his blanks, the formation hasn't really catered towards him with the likes of Nacho and Vardy playing alongside one another. It's very clear that Vardy does operate better as that single forward, and wouldn't be surprised to see Leicester go into that direction. And we do have him predicted to be the third highest scoring forward over the next 5 game weeks. And with that brilliant away fixture against Leeds in game week 11, I really don't think it's the time to move away from Vardy into Harry Kane. As you can see there, we have him as the second highest scorer forward this weekend, just below Aubameyang, who has home to Watford. So Vardy to Ronaldo or Kane this game week might not be the right time. Maybe looking to make that move in game week 12 after the international break is the optimal time to jump on those brilliant predicted points of the likes of Kane and Ronaldo. Now, I just want to skip down all the way to Antonio here, as of course, as I mentioned, been a bit of a recent seller recently and predicted to possibly fall in price. But still looking at that 21.4 predicted points. Although the fixtures, everyone's screaming, have been terrible, he is still predicted to do okay over this period and still outscore the likes of Ivan Toney. Now, again, it's worth noting, Ivan Toney being about 1.5 million cheaper and predicted to only score about 1 point less. That probably does justify some managers' decision making in selling Antonio to bring in Toney, because the gulf in predicted points isn't necessarily massive. However, I still think Antonio is a brilliant pick over the coming game weeks. Offers you guaranteed game time, and in a side like West Ham, who are doing so well right now in the Premier League, I think Antonio is still a hold. However, looking at the predicted points coming up, if you want to make a sideways move from Antonio to Toney, as a lot of managers have been doing right now as their transfer combination, I think it is potentially justified in the long term. But it's worth noting, if you've had Antonio from game week 1 and built up value, you need to remember that buying him back in over the coming game weeks might be a tricky task. Right guys, that's going to wrap up today's Fantasy Football Fix price change predictions video. Now, if you're watching this after the Friday night deadline, then you might be looking to make your transfers ahead of game week 12. But it's worth noting, with that international break coming up, with those 2 weeks, anything can happen over that period. So my recommendation would be, if you are able to ride out some of the prices, it might be worthwhile holding that transfer until we get through the international break, because anything can happen to your players and it is valuable holding off until we get closer to that deadline. But of course, if you're getting priced out with any of these moves, then you might be feeling that you necessarily have to make that transfer. So guys, massive shout out for tuning into this video. Of course, everything is taken from fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. So be sure to head over to the link in the bio to check out a brilliant website that helps you improve your rank and win those mini leagues. And be sure to check out our free app, which provides push notifications so you don't miss a single thing. And if you want to support the channel, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and with daily videos dropping, you don't want to be missing a thing. So hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys same time tomorrow. Have a great game week. Cheers.